Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another Star Ace Wonders of the Wild series model to take a look at, and not just another Wonders of the Wild series. We have the second half of the model set that we recently had taken a look at, one of which was the dire wolf. We now have the Smilodon, and we now will get to see these two models together and, complete the entire diorama by the end of the video. But you can see the Smilodon looks absolutely epic here on the front of the box. You've got a really nice image there of the model, as well as, of course, the species name, the Wonders of the Wild series logo, and sculpted by Sean Cooper, which again is a regular thing when it comes to the Wonders of the Wild series, and also a great thing because he's a fantastic sculptor. But you can see over here on the side, again, you've got the Smilodon, a really nice big image of it over here. And then if we turn it around again, another shot over here on the other side of the model. And then the information and everything here on the back tells you all about the model. Again, you have the name, you've got the Wonders of the Wild series logo, information about the Wonders of the Wild series itself, and everything else. So let's pop this box open and check it out. And just like we usually have, we have the Smilodon nameplate here that you can place with the model, of course, when you want to display it. And then we have the Smilodon itself, and man, that is one killer Smilodon model. Like, that is fantastic. I've got quite a few Smilodon in my collection, but at first glance, I can say that I think this one here is my favorite straight out of the gate. This thing is absolutely incredible looking here. I really love the coloration on this. Like, the tones of color in the face look super, super cool. So again, it seems as though Star Ace has absolutely knocked another one out of the park with this model as well. So let's jump to a closer look and we'll check it out from there. So, starting up here at the head sculpt of our Smilodon. Wow, how about that for an impressive visual? That is absolutely awesome looking. But straight away you can see the sculpt looks fantastic, and also in similar fashion to the recent dire wolf release, you've got a very cool, very dynamic pose for the Smilodon, which also includes the mouth being wide open and obviously letting out some form of a vocalization toward the dire wolf, potentially coming in for a little bite on its face. I'm not too sure, but the mouth is gaping wide open, like as wide open as I could possibly imagine the mouth of a Smilodon. But you can see that has been reflected quite nicely when it comes to the skin stretching and everything here in the face. It all looks really good. And again, we get another really nice visual of the inside of the mouth of the Smilodon, this time like we had with the dire wolf. You can see the tongue is sculpted out really nicely and painted so nice and realistically there on the inside of the mouth. You've got quite a bit of variation of color to the tongue and the inside of the mouth in general. You can see what the inside up there on the upper part of the mouth looks like as well. And again, you've got all of the teeth sculpted out as you move through the course of the mouth. You can see all of the teeth are all sculpted out, all painted as well. Same deal for the upper jaw. You can see those teeth up there. And of course, the teeth here in the front of the mouth again. You've got the gum there showing as well. The gums on the top of the inside of the mouth. And of course, our classic saber teeth on our Smilodon, which are painted really nicely with like a really nice kind of a yellowish tone for the teeth. And you can see as I kind of move them here, you let the light hit them, and we've got a really nice gloss coat on them as well, as does the entire inside of the mouth in general. And of course, as you move up here, wow, look at that shot. That is crazy looking. And of course, as you move up here, you can see that we've got the nose sculpted out. That's very nicely painted as well. Very nice and precise and carefully painted. And the eyes look great. Look at how nicely painted those eyes are. They also, again, have a nice gloss coat to them. They shine very realistically. Almost looks like we have like an orangish tone, then a yellow, then a black pupil, which is pretty impressive, the variation of color like that for the eye of a model that's, that's a pretty small eye. But you can see, again, just the anger in this face here of the Smilodon, even when it comes to the eyes right there. So cool. And another thing that I absolutely love about this, just like with the dire wolf, you can see the whiskers are present. Not only are they present on the model, but they're actually applied to it like after the model was done. Not something that was sculpted into the model. So adding even more realism to the model is the fact that we actually have, again, like those genuine whiskers you can see right there for the Smilodon. Then as you lead back here into the face, just like with the direwolf, the paintwork is honestly out of this world. There's so much variation of color. We've got all sorts of variations of like reddish brown tones and stuff here in the face. You have kind of like a light gray or a white that borders around the eye, stripes down here, and then we transition to like greenish tones and variations of browns and off-whites, and there's just so much color, and they've just done such a great job when it comes to painting this with, again, using dry brushing techniques and stuff. Especially up here, you can see how we've really highlighted all of that fur detail and made it just pop so nicely. This is absolutely one of, if not the single most impressive Smilodon model I have ever seen. As you move back, you can see the ears. I love that the fur on the inside of the ears has been painted with a little bit of a lighter tone, just making that pop a little bit. And then of course you have darker tones up here on the back of the ear. You can even see a darker tone kind of follow along the outer edge of the ear. As you continue to move along, you have just tons and tons of variation of color to the Smilodon, again with different darker and lighter shades of browns, reddish browns, even looks like there might be some khaki tones in there. As you lead up, you got, again, scruffier fur back here in the neck. Starts to kind of become a little bit more tame as you move back here into the shoulders. You can see the shoulders protruding up here on the top of the Smilodon. And then as we move down, immense muscle definition, really nicely displayed moving down here through the course of the side of the Smilodon. But as a whole, they have sculpted out that very strong look to this perfectly. You also have a really cool color scheme for it, as you see those kind of reddish tones picking up and just really nicely popping up as you move through the course of the animal. This is absolutely the type of coloration I could see a cat like this being, and again, giving it that ferocious look with the usage of reds on this is a really nice touch. As you continue to move down through the length of the front leg, you've got the elbow present. Again, tons of variation of color, making it look as real as it could possibly get. As you move down into the foot sculpt is also nicely sculpted. We've got all the toes sculpted beautifully, the nails painted, given a nice gloss coat to the nails as well. You can kind of see them shining right there. As we move back up into the stomach, you've got the fur kind of stretching off of the stomach in both the front and rear leg right there. That looks really good. You can see the stomach itself really nicely sculpted. And again, when you get nice and close, that is so impressive how much coloration and paintwork has been added to this. I was bragging basically almost about how good the paint job was in the direwolf and how that was the best paint job I think I had seen from Star Ace. Now I don't know, I might take it back. I think maybe the Smilodon somehow might be better than the direwolf, or they're at the very least equal to each other. But as we continue to move through, this really neat patterning just looks so natural on this. Again, the way that they've applied it looks absolutely like body color and not just paint on a model. We also have a darker tone that kind of follows along the spinal column moving down. You can see all of the fur continues to be quite fine as you move through the course of the model. Leading here into the back, you again see the muscle definition in the thigh of our Smilodon. You can kind of make out the hip bone as well. As you lead down, you've got some nice wrinkling to the skin in the stomach because the leg is pushing into the stomach. You can see how it's just stretching here on the back of the thigh, again with this leg taking a step forward. That little area right there is so nicely done. And again, the paintwork is just fantastic. There's just so much variation of color. As you move down, you've got a really nice foot sculpt again, nails painted again similar to what we saw on the front, of course, and again given that nice gloss coat. You can also see a little bit of a lighter tone as you move down into the foot. As you move back, just like with the direwolf, we do see the genitalia for our Smilodon as well, so making sure that this is as anatomically correct as possible. We've also got a really nice tail sculpt up here. It does darken to a black as you lead out into the tail, and then when you take a look at this side of the Smilodon, which I would say is probably the more superior side because the head's kind of leaning toward us slightly over here, you can see again the same muscle definition and same appearance basically to all of the area of the front leg kind of tensing and the shoulders kind of protruding from the skin. As you lead down, you can see this leg is almost in the same position as the other one, just maybe slightly more forward. Again, the foot sculpt looks great though, really nicely painted nails. And then we lead back up into the stomach, and you can see how Now this leg is definitely stretched out further than the other one, really stretching the skin off of the stomach, giving us a little bit of a better view here of the stomach region on this side for our Smilodon. And again, you can definitely take in and appreciate the very cool color scheme of the Smilodon on this side. That is really neat looking, and the fur detail again continues to look so realistic. It almost feels like it should feel furry when I touch it. It looks that real, which is pretty impressive. And then as you lead down again, the rear leg looks great, the rear foot sculpt looks great, and the underside also sports a nice kind of a light grayish tone, and you've got all kinds of skin wrinkles and skin folds and everything down here. For the underside of the Smilodon, even a striping effect that moves down through the back of the legs as you lead down. Man, talk about impressive. Like, when it comes to a Smilodon model, it absolutely does not get more impressive than that. And we've got ourselves a similar base to what we saw with the direwolf, but quite a bit larger, also including an incline on this base, kind of like what we saw with the direwolf, but a bit more of a incline on this one. But we have pretty much the same type of sculpt when it comes to a rocky formation. We've also got more leaves and stuff laying around, just like we saw on the direwolf base. You've also got tons and tons of variation of color as you move through on this. Again, you can even see variations of browns and stuff showing up, all kinds of different grays. They've added a really nice dark wash to it to highlight all of the detail. You can see all the very tiny pebbles and stones as you move through. Just like with the other one, it looks like a genuine, real piece of the earth here. You've also got some vegetation popping up. Obviously, you can see the footprints, which is where you would want to put the feet of your Smilodon. And as you move down here into the side, the base continues to look just as impressive moving through, again with all the little tiny additions, like the little tiny pebbles, areas of vegetation, and absolutely incredible paintwork on this. As you move through, get every angle. You've got some more vegetation as we move over here to this side. And of course, this is going to match very nicely with the direwolf, since it is so similar to the terrain that model was obviously sporting. So I'm actually really quite excited to take a look at these two together, because I haven't quite yet. So definitely an amazing base, but I really want to get this on the base and take a look at it with the direwolf. Of course, the only other thing really in this set to show you guys would be the name tag, which is something we usually have, a nameplate for our models, but that also looks really cool. But let's go ahead and get this back on the base, bring in the direwolf, and look at them together. Of course, we already had seen that there is a peg for the foot on here. You're just going to match that up with that little peg hole, slide that in, and then match the footprints up with the feet. And there we go. I think I have it in the right spot, maybe. Yes, I do. Okay, so there we go. There is our Smilodon. Let's move the camera back a little bit, and then bring in our direwolf, which is right here. And we'll just place these two together. And look at that. How awesome is that? Move it back just a little bit more to really allow you to kind of soak this up. That is easily one of the coolest dioramas that I have ever seen. You can see two very ferocious animals going face to face here, clearly about to do combat, both very angry with each other, and definitely creating one of the single most striking dioramas that I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, I'm honestly almost in awe looking at this together. So if I were telling you how I would go about buying these, I'm not going to lie to you guys. You absolutely should buy them both, and buy them both together, because I believe when you buy them both together, the listing is a little bit cheaper than buying them individually, because that's normally how it works. So I would recommend going that route and just grabbing the two of them together, because you really should have this diorama in your collection. It's easily one of the coolest things that I have ever seen right here before me. Definitely one of the coolest models produced by Star Ace so far, and in a world of amazing Star Ace models, that's pretty awesome. When it comes to a size for the Smilodon, lengthwise from the leg to the snout, you're looking at about 9 3/4 inches, or around 24.5 centimeters, approaching 25, but not quite there. And then for a height to the back of the shoulders, just a hair under 8 inches, or about 20 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to our Smilodon here. And you can see that very clearly this Smilodon has a pretty impressive size. Definitely a very nicely sized version of the Smilodon. Now, one good thing about the Smilodon over the dire wolf is I do have quite a few Smilodon models in my collection, so I can bring in quite a few to take a look at with you guys in comparison. Here is the recurve version, if you happen to have that. Definitely pretty similar in size, kind of, to the Star Ace version, but obviously not quite as large. We also have the Mojo Fun version, which is very much so a lot smaller, as well as a pretty old version of the Safari LTD Smilodon. The Schleich Smilodon as well, which again, way smaller than our Star Ace version. The Papo Smilodon, which I feel like is a pretty good female version here. Again, because they have a more male type version sculpted out with like a mane and everything on it, so I guess I should take this one probably as a attempt at a female, but obviously you can see again way smaller than the Star Ace version. There is also the TNG version of the Smilodon, and I could probably just keep going on and on here because I know I definitely have more in my collection than this, but there is one comparison that I feel like a lot of people would probably like to see, and that would be the Rebor version of the Smilodon next to the Star Ace version. And you can see that they're pretty similar in size, honestly, which is actually pretty impressive for the Star Ace version because I didn't think I'd ever have a Smilodon that could quite compete with the Rebor version in size. But I also would have to say that I didn't think I'd find one and add one to my collection that could compete with Rebor's version as far as quality, but the Star Ace wins it. It absolutely does. It overall has a way cooler looking sculpt, a way cooler looking paint application, much more natural and a little bit flashier, but still remaining very natural as a whole. And also the one area that Rebor's so good at usually is painting the inside of the mouth and the teeth, but you can see that the Star Ace version is equal in that aspect as well, maybe even a little bit better actually. So overall, they're pretty similar in size. I think the Rebor version is just slightly bigger than the Star Ace version, but honestly, it's just like a hair larger. However, the Star Ace version is honestly out of this world phenomenal. So this brand new Star Ace Wonders of the Wild series Smilodon is the single best Smilodon in my collection. There's absolutely no competition when it comes to that spot, and I really don't see any other model coming along and overtaking it. This thing is phenomenal, and when I say phenomenal, I'm talking about like next level phenomenal. The sculpt is really cool. Even if you buy the Smilodon individually, it has such a dynamic, really cool look to it that it is probably one of the single most striking models I have seen in a very long time, and especially when it comes to a Smilodon. Not only does it show the beauty and realism of this animal, but it also shows that very ferocious side, which is one of the many things that I think draws people to this animal, is the fact that it's a massive, ferocious cat with giant saber-like teeth, and it basically gives you all of that in one model and shows you every reason why you should love Smilodon. The sculpt, on top of looking fantastic when it comes to the general appearance, also includes some of the nicest looking fine detail I've ever seen. It is extremely well done and super lifelike, and one of the very few times that I've taken a look at a resin model that's supposed to be furry and genuinely looks like it is actually furry. Same deal with the direwolf. Like, the models are so good when it comes to the fur detail. I feel like if I pet them, they're going to be really soft, even if they are made of resin. So again, that just shows you how good of a sculptor Sean Cooper is. On top of that, we have a really nice paint scheme and paint application for this. The paint scheme is really cool. I love the way they've used reds on this, making it look very cool, very mean and flashy. Pretty much the type of coloration I would expect to see for an apex predator like this, and giving it that type of don't mess with me type of a look. The coloration is just so good on this, and the actual application of the paint again is fantastic. They've added so much variation of color to it, so many slight differences in colors, and the patterning just looks so smooth on this, so natural as a whole. The base is great. It's very lifelike, very realistic, and really helps to create the scene for us here with the Smilodon up on that kind of rock ledge. And of course, once you take that base and you add in the dire wolf, you get one of the coolest looking dioramas I've ever seen, and definitely something that I cannot even begin to tell you how highly I recommend picking up. So just like with the dire wolf, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase either the Smilodon by itself or the Smilodon in the 2-pack. And of course, I'll also include a link to the dire wolf as well, because why not? And again, like I said, I really recommend picking up the entire set and just having the entire diorama on your shelf, because you will never in a million years regret that decision. So make sure you check those links out and pick up some or all of these models, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.